Chapter 6. Trip was working on Marx's gravity drive. The pilot had been lucky. If the piece of console had embedded itself a few millimeters higher up, the main power conduit would have been severed and Marx would have died a horrible death. Trip reconnected a cable and the unit lit up, and Marx's trouble machine lifted up off the ground.
"Motive power restored,"
Trip announced. Marx ran a few system checks.
"Confirmed. All systems at optimal operational levels."
Trip closed up the panel and moved back.
"You are welcome,"
he said as he left the bridge.
"Has there been any word from the General?"
Marx asked. Trip turned back.
"No, but if there was anything wrong, I am sure we would have heard the explosions by now,"
Trip said jokingly. The sound of weapons fire continued to echo down the corridor. It sounded like there was an army of Daleks in that room, not just one. Ryuk smiled to himself. Blaine was letting loose the frustration of not being able to fire his weapon. His communicator beeped, and Ryuk responded. "Blaine?"
"Apologies, General. Several creatures got past me. I suggest concealing yourselves. The smaller creatures cannot damage a Dalek. 2 shots from a standard gun should be sufficient to incapacitate or destroy, but there are a considerable number of them."
Ryuk looked around for a place to hide.
"Sir, up here."
The clones had opened a ventilation hatch and were climbing up inside. "Good idea. We will find another hatch," Owen said, pointing down the corridor to Ryuk. "Lead the spiders away and if possible destroy them," Ryuk ordered to the Daleks.
"We obey,"
they responded. The Daleks sped down the corridor. Ryuk thought about ordering Snidge to focus on finding the computer room, but first they needed to deal with the spiders. He joined Owen, who had found another access panel. Ryuk reached up and unlocked it, and then helped Owen inside before joining him, closing the hatch. Inside it was very cramped. Ryuk had to remove his shoulder bells and thigh guards to allow him to get into a comfortable position. "Well, yet again I am hiding in a ventilation duct," Owen commented. Ryuk pulled out a small box from his belt and took out a small orange cube. "Again? Do you often find yourself in places like this?" he asked. Owen laughed to himself. "You would be surprised how many missions end with hiding in a duct. I'm surprised they make them so people can fit inside them." Ryuk shifted his shoulders, rubbing against the wall. "Speak for yourself," he said, and took a bite out of the cube. Owen looked at the fruit. "What is that? I saw you eating some earlier." Ryuk had just taken another bite. "It's koala blum, a Dalek food. Tasty, and has the added bonus of giving you energy, and can even heal wounds to some extent." He offered a piece to Owen, who took it and gave it a sniff. He looked at Ryuk, who had just finished his second piece. Owen held his nose and took a bite. At first it didn't taste too bad, but then the bad taste hit him and he had to force it down his throat. With a shudder he looked at Ryuk, who was grinning. "Wow, didn't think you'd actually eat it." A sudden wave of fear took hold of Owen. "It is safe for human consumption?" he asked nervously. Ryuk finished his third piece and put the box away. "Probably." He saw Owen was actually worried. "Of course it is. Finish that and I'll treat you to a nice juicy burger when we get back." Owen sighed and threw the last piece into his mouth, chomped it a few times and then swallowed it as quickly as possible. As bad as it tasted, he did actually feel re-energized. Blaine emerged from the room where the spiders had been locked up. He was covered in spider guts. Dead spiders lay everywhere. Blaine surveyed his handiwork and then stopped when he saw the queen spider, who was missing several legs and with a huge hole in her abdomen.
"That has to be worth 1,000 points,
he thought to himself.
"Now where did the rest of you Thal-blighted creatures go? Blaine to engineer Trip."
Trip was working on a hull patch when Blaine's call came through.
"Blaine, what is happening?"
"The colony is void of human life, but is infested with arachnid life forms. This is hostile to humanoid life. The General and humans have concealed themselves. The others have lured the creatures away. I delayed them as much as possible, but had to seek refuge when my weapon overheated."
Trip was impressed. Blaine was in full warrior mode. Until this point he wasn't sure the Dalek had a serious side to him.
"Understood. We have completed repairs, but cannot proceed any further with the hull fix without replacement materials."
"We have located enough material for the repairs, but I will need assistance. I have also located a means of conveying the material."
Ryuk peered out of the vent. All was quiet. They heard a few volleys of Dalek fire, but that was far away. He jumped down and froze as he listened for any spiders nearby. Convinced they were safe, he beckoned Owen down, who, with the grace of a lead balloon, fell and would have hit his face on the floor if Ryuk hadn't caught him. Ryuk led Owen down the corridor. They rounded a corner and bumped into the clones. Weapons were quickly raised and then lowered.
"Sir, are you okay?"
Cirrus asked. Owen nodded. "Fine. What's the situation?" 54 stood watch as the group conversed.
"The Daleks seem to have led the creatures to the far end of the colony. We have killed a couple of scouts, but haven't seen or heard anything for some time."
Owen looked at Ryuk. "Can you contact your Daleks via text message?" Ryuk nodded and accessed his gauntlet computer and began typing a message. A few moments later a reply came from Trip. Ryuk sighed. "Great. The only Dalek with a working receiver is the one I left in the ship. He reports that Blaine has killed many of the spiders and is assisting with the transport of materials to repair the hull. No words from any of the others."
"Maybe the spiders don't like canned foods,"
54 commented. Ryuk scowled under his helmet, but chose not to give an audible response. "We should make a plan to get back to the ship. Once we're out in the open, they will swarm after us." Owen had an idea. "We need to go back to the lab. I want to go through the notes again. I remember reading they were attracted to energy, but need to be sure." Ryuk gestured down the corridor, and the two clones took point.
Halt!
Lex ordered. Snidge came to an abrupt halt and turned around to face the sub-commander.
My sensors detect movement.
Snidge checked his own sensors.
Mine are clear.
Lex looked around.
Mine have been specifically calibrated to detect micro changes in air density.
Snidge moved closer to Lex.
If your sensors are superior, then you should lead. Remember who you are talking to. I am the sub-commander of Conquest Army 0. You are under my command.
Snidge backed off. As much as he hated admitting it, he needed Lex's help. He knew Alliance technology better than he. Snidge noticed Lex seemed distracted by something.
Another sensor contact?
He asked.
Negative. Text message from General Ryuk. We are to find a suitable method of distracting the creatures when he and the humans make their escape. The creatures are attracted to light and energy emissions. They do not seem to regard Daleks as a threat or food, but once they have a humanoid in sight, they will not relent until their target has been caught and consumed, or infected.
The two Daleks continued on their way down the corridor. Back in the lab, the clones watched the door while Owen accessed the database. Ryuk was giving the room another look over. "You are sure they are attracted to energy and light?" Ryuk asked. Owen looked annoyed. "For the millionth time, yes. I just need to copy this information to take back to Eden, but the system is constantly requiring me to prove who I am." While Owen was busy with the computer, Ryuk used his telekinesis to take a data storage device out of his belt pocket and sent it over to another console. Thanks to Lex's override of the system, the program in the device loaded instantly. Ryuk recalled the device and checked his gauntlet that was now linked to the console. He smiled under his helmet, then suddenly realized Owen was looking at him. "You okay in there?" Owen asked. Ryuk nodded. "Fine, just been blasted with a load of reports. Lex and Snidge have a plan to lure the spiders away." 54 walked up to him.
"All clear out there, but what do we do if the spider spots us? It's fairly flat terrain to the ship, and we can't move that fast."
Owen nodded. "He has a point. You can fly, but the rest of us will be lunched or knocked up before we get to the ship." Ryuk stalled himself. This plan was going to be fun to explain. "That's why we find you guys a faster way of getting there." Owen looked confused. "How?" Then he realized. "Oh no way." Ryuk stepped closer to him. "They've already agreed, and can you think of a faster way to get there?" Owen thought for a moment. "You could carry us one at a time." Ryuk shook his head. "My thrusters are not designed for sustained flight, and carrying one of you will drain them completely." Cirrus looked confused.
"What is the plan?"
Owen sighed. "He wants us to ride a Dalek." 54 almost dropped his weapon.
"And they are okay with that?"
"They are because I ordered them to." A nasty thought hit Owen. "What about the angry one, Snidge?" He refused. "Since he isn't under my direct command, so Scope is coming back with Blaine, who has agreed, if you are the one he carries." Owen saw he wasn't going to win this argument, so agreed. When the flare was ready, the humans and Daleks met at the entrance. Owen climbed on Blaine's back and hugged the Dalek. It was a weird sensation again to be so close to a heavy weapons Dalek. Sirius and 54 climbed onto Lex and scoped back. Snidge watched in disgust. Ryuk primed his thrusters and connected to the console in the lab and transmitted a simple message to be decoded back at Skera. "Detonate the bomb," he ordered, and without any verbal response a blinding flash of light lit up the rear of the colony. A series of shrieks and scrabbling sounds could be heard, and suddenly the spiders emerged onto the roof, heading away from the group. "Not good. If they turn around," Owen commented. "Then let's move! All units maximum speed to the ship," Ryuk ordered. He took flight, but the noise from his thrusters caught a couple of the spiders' attention. As soon as they saw him, they shrieked, and the mass turned away from the flare and started after the humans. "Crap! Don't look back! Keep moving!" Ryuk shouted. Scope turned his dome to look behind him, almost knocking 54 off his back. 54 could have sworn he heard the Dalek make an eep sound. He definitely heard the Dalek's gravity drive kick up a notch.
Must go faster,
Scope shouted. Trip and Marks opened fire from the ship, killing several spiders as they got closer to the group. Ryuk drew his blaster and swooped over the horde of spiders, killing a few, but had to pull up when a couple almost grabbed him. The Daleks thundered up the ramp, skidding to a halt. Ryuk joined them. Trip slammed the ramp controls that seemed to take forever to close. They could hear the spiders climbing over the hull, trying to get in. "Marks, let's get out of here." Marks led the way to the bridge with Ryuk close behind him. "Everyone strap in, this will be rough." Trip headed to the engine room, followed by Scope. Owen and the clones found some seats and strapped themselves in. Ryuk could barely see out of the bridge. Spiders were everywhere. Marks fired up the engines.
"All systems primed. You will have to act as a stabilizer."
Ryuk nodded and pulled out the co-pilot controls. Several spiders fell off, but most clung to the hull. "They're still on us," Ryuk noted.
"Not for long,"
commented Marks. As he hit the throttle, the ship accelerated so fast the spiders that weren't thrown off were crushed by the G-force. In no time they found themselves safely in space. Ryuk checked over the ship's systems. Everything seemed okay. He rejoined Owen and the clones. "We are clear. No passengers." Owen breathed a sigh of relief. "How long till we get back to Eden?" "We aren't heading that way. This ship's pretty beaten up, so we will drop you somewhere where you can get back to Eden yourselves." Owen looked into Ryuk's eyes. "Are we good?" Ryuk frowned. "Good? Yeah, I stopped you from completing an order from the Emperor. I didn't allow you to access the data network." Ryuk had to suppress a laugh. He will be mad, but one of our other agents may have better luck." Now Owen frowned as Ryuk headed back to the bridge.
"What course, General?"
Marks inquired. Ryuk settled into his chair. "Nearest Alliance outpost, then homeward to Skera." Marks obeyed, and the starry background blurred as the ship entered hyperspace.